Welcome to Healing After Heartbreak, Season 2, The Heartbreak We Don't Talk About. What if the hardest heartbreak of your life didn't begin with a breakup? This season, Mary Majors explores the heartbreaks we rarely name and the relationships, beliefs, and patterns they leave behind. Wherever this episode finds you, you're welcome here, because understanding your story isn't about living in the past. It's about finding the freedom to write a different future.
Welcome to Healing After Heartbreak, Season 2. I'm Mary Majors, and whether this is your first episode or you've been with me since Season 1, I'm so glad you're here. Around here, we believe healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before pain made you forget. So grab your coffee or your tea, or if you're listening while hiding in your pantry because it's the only quiet place in your house, I see you. Take a deep breath and let's have a conversation. When you hear the word heartbreak, what comes to mind? Most of us picture the same things: a breakup, a divorce, infidelity, ghosting, the relationship that ended. We picture someone ugly crying in their car while Adele plays in the background. Although if we're being honest, Adele probably has gotten a lot of us through a breakup. We think of heartbreak as something that happens when love leaves. But can I ask you something? What if the biggest heartbreak of your life didn't begin with a breakup? What if it began years before anyone ever broke your heart romantically? What if heartbreak isn't only about losing someone? What if it's also about losing pieces of yourself? Maybe your voice, maybe your confidence, maybe your ability to trust yourself. Maybe your belief that your needs mattered. Maybe your sense of safety. You see, somewhere along the way, we've made the word heartbreak much too small, because heartbreak isn't only something that happens when a relationship ends. Sometimes heartbreak happens inside relationships that never end. Sometimes it happens in the home you grew up in. Sometimes it happens because no one noticed. Sometimes it happens because you learned love had to be earned. Sometimes it happens because being needed felt safer than being known. And sometimes no one ever meant to break your heart. That one is important because this season is not about blaming our parents. It's not about pointing fingers. It's not about deciding who was the villain in our story. Maybe your parents loved you with everything they had, and maybe you still grew up carrying things that were never yours to carry. Both things can be true. One of the greatest lessons I've learned as a therapist, coach, researcher, and a woman who's done this work herself is that understanding is very different from blaming. Understanding brings compassion. Blame usually keeps us stuck. And I don't want us to stay stuck. I want us to become free. You know, after Season 1, something fascinating kept happening. Women would write to me and say, Mary, I finally left the relationship, or the divorce is over, or I know he wasn't healthy for me. But why do I keep feeling this way? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns? Why do I keep choosing people I have to earn? Why do boundaries feel like I'm doing something wrong? Those questions stopped me in my tracks because they weren't really asking about the breakup anymore. They were asking about themselves. And somewhere in the middle of those conversations, I realized something that changed the way I understood healing. The breakup wasn't the beginning, it was the invitation. The invitation to ask bigger questions like, where did I learn that love meant overgiving? Where did I learn that keeping everyone else happy was my job? Where did I learn that saying no made me selfish? Where did I learn to apologize for having needs? Where did I learn to ignore the quiet voice inside me that whispered, this doesn't feel safe? Those lessons usually didn't begin in our 20s or our 30s or even our marriages. Most of them began much earlier, and that's what this season is about. Not reliving the past, not living in blame, not dissecting every childhood memory, but gently asking, what shaped me? Because here's what I know to be true. You cannot change what you refuse to understand. And understanding your story isn't about staying in it, it's about finally becoming free to write a different ending. So, wherever you're listening today, maybe from your car, maybe while you're folding laundry, maybe on a walk, maybe because something in your heart whispered, I think this episode is for me. I hope you'll stay because over the next several weeks, we're going to explore the heartbreaks we don't often talk about. We'll untangle the stories that may have been shaping your life for decades. Not to blame, not to relive, but to understand. And when we understand, we become free to choose something different. I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope today's conversation helped you understand yourself with a little more compassion and a little less shame. If today's episode stirred something in you, I have two invitations. First, take my free heartbreak pattern assessment. In about 5 minutes, you'll discover the relationship pattern that's been shaping your life, where it likely began, and your first steps towards healing. You can find it at marymajors.com/quiz or through the link in today's show notes. And if you're ready to go even deeper, my book, The Sacred Work of Remembering, shares the personal story behind so many of these conversations and the journey that led me to this work. It's available now on Amazon, and you'll find that link in the show notes as well. If this episode encouraged you, I'd be so grateful if you'd follow the podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs to hear it. Next week, we're diving into our first full conversation of the season as we explore when home didn't feel safe, because sometimes the heartbreak that shaped us began long before we had words for it. Until then, be gentle with yourself, keep remembering, and I'll meet you right back here.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Healing After Heartbreak. If today's conversation resonated with you, be sure to follow the podcast, leave a review, or share this episode with someone who may need it. To continue your healing journey, visit marymajors.com, where you'll find the free heartbreak pattern assessment, Mary's book, The Sacred Work of Remembering, and additional resources designed to help you rebuild self-trust, find emotional safety, and heal with compassion. Until next time, remember, healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been.